Good morning. It's Friday. I know I'm wearing exactly the same clothes that I was yesterday, which was Thursday, but trust me, it is a day later. I just have clothes up here that I throw on for recording. They cycle out every week. Anyway, that's not the subject of the video. Another topic that isn't the subject of the video today. I felt great this week, and I was thinking last weekend I was in Philadelphia, and Nick and I went for that long walk around Philadelphia, ending at Walt Whitman's tomb. There's a video on that from a couple of days ago. For dinner afterwards, we went out and I ate a steak. And honestly, I have no memory of actually ever having eaten a steak before in my life. I was a vegetarian as a teenager until my mid-30s, and I eat fish and turkey now, but I don't cook red meat. I don't know how to cook it. And I don't often... I cannot remember the last time I had red meat, period. But I feel great, and I think the combination of that 14-mile walk and a big chunk of steak has given me some gumption. So I might do that, I don't know, once a year, once a quarter. Let me know what you think, particularly if you're someone who doesn't eat red meat a whole lot. How does that fit in? What do you think about it? Anyway, the topic for today is anxiety, surrender, trust, meditation, how all of that fits together, what all of those might mean. So I'm hoping that this is kind of a practical video, something that you can take away and use in your daily practice, right? So there's a sequence, right? And it starts with this sensation of anxiety. Now, anxiety, if you sit with it, anxiety is a constraint. It's a constraining process on the openness of awareness. And at the root of that anxiety is this sort of this sense that one or another of the expected outcomes that we are attached to is not going to turn out the way that we think it will. Right? So the classic formulation is to reduce anxiety by reducing attachment. But that's one of those things that's easier said than done, right? We're attached to the outcome. Let's say you're anxious about work. You're attached to that outcome because if you don't have a job, you don't have income. And if you don't have an income, you don't have a house, and you don't have dinner, and you can't get dog food. The whole cycle, dog food, not for me, dog food for my dogs, right? I can provide for the people and beings who depend on me. I can't do the things I want to do. And so there's anxiety about not being able to do those things. So in that space, we have the self, we have the desires, and we have the reaction. We have the attachment and the reaction that's caused by that attachment. So how do you let go of the attachment? You have to project into the future. And remember, that's all the future is another form of thought. We don't reside in the future. We can anticipate it. We can look forward to it. Anticipate meaning believe that it will happen. But we can also anticipate it in the sense of looking forward to it. We can fear it, but we don't reside there. Practice looking into the future. 10 minutes ahead, 10 days ahead, 20 days. This is the framing exercise. The thing that I'm anxious about right now, what in 20 days might it look like? Many things I was anxious about 20 days ago simply disappeared. I didn't do anything. They came about one way or the other. and then I adapted and reacted to whatever the new situation was. So the first axiom, I think, is to recognize that something is going to happen, right? And I will react to that something the same way I'm reacting to the moment now, the same way I reacted to the moments yesterday. And the chances are, once the reaction is there, if we are practicing, we practice with clarity, with compassion, and with wisdom. The anxiety is a constraining function on those, remember, right? We need to be able to have trust that the moment in the future that we are anxious about will arise, and we will approach it with openness and clarity and compassion. I think that's part of the mechanics of karma, right? Karma is a force equivalent to gravity. It just is. And I think if we keep that in mind, something is going to happen. And that something is going to be the outcome of karma and conditions. And we will experience that future moment with whatever clarity we have managed to acquire. We will come to it with, what that really means is we'll come to that moment with the filters and obscurations that remain in our consciousness. When I say that the antidote for anxiety is trust, it is to take that amalgam of ideas about the future, about the sort of unceasing reliability of karma, and the confidence that I will be present for that moment. And to say that those circumstances and my response to it will happen. Right? You're probably not getting a great sense of comfort from this at the moment. But I'd suggest if you sit and meditate on that, what I hope arises is the sense that there's a difference between the circumstances and the inner awareness. I practice. I am fortunate enough, you are fortunate enough to live in a time and a place where the teachings are available. Fortunate enough to be able to record a video and watch a video. Fortunate enough to have a job and an income and a lifestyle. Fortunate enough to know how to play the piano and have the time and capability to exercise that. Those are all great, but those aren't what make me a being, right? Those make me awesome, but they don't make me, they're not my Buddha nature. The exercise of surrender is the recognition that our being is fundamentally present and separate from the circumstances around it. And that the unfolding of those circumstances, all right, so now, all right, probably still not really thinking this is particularly helpful, but here's the move that I think is either going to do for you or not. The unfolding of those circumstances is really unfathomable to me because the unfolding of karma, the unfolding of grace is right, the ways of the divine is unfathomable to me. And I can look at that and say, there is no way, and I mean zero chance, that 20 years ago I could have plotted out the decisions that would have brought me to the moment here and now. You know that, right? All those circumstances, those awesome situations I just listed out, I didn't even know that those would be desirable when I was 30, when I was 20. And yet here they are. They have worked out as a combination of my own sort of skillful means as they developed and the unfolding of karma. I mean, yeah, I'm kind of saying that there's a lack of free will involved in this when I say that something is going to happen. We can kind of just set back and let it happen. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm not articulating my desires, but I know that that's what I'm doing. So I want a particular outcome in a project or at work. I for sure am going to, as clearly as I can, understand what I want and state that. But that's all I can do. Those are just another shiny object floating out there in the sort of mobile of outcomes. My articulated outcome is like a little bauble floating on the ocean of karma. And maybe, like the butterfly wing, maybe it'll have an effect. But most likely, the thing that I think that I want, me right now thinking, how do I want the future to unfold? I have no idea. Surrender to that having no idea. Make the efforts that you have in this moment, but recognize that they are those ideas are operating from a very narrow understanding of what's unfolding. If you don't agree with that and you think that you are able to shape the future, do what I just did. Look at where you're at right now and try to figure out what actual decisions you made deliberately that brought you to where you are right now. I mean, for sure, there's some general life shapes that we all make. We get married, we buy a house, we get a job, or we don't do those things. We move to a certain place. But the impact of those decisions is, I would say, take this away and agree or disagree, the impact of our decisions is entirely unknowable. Surrender into that, and why be anxious? Anxiety, trust that something is going to happen. I am not saying that everything works out for the best. What I am saying is that the outcome is separate from our beingness, our meaningfulness, and it is entirely driven by the unfolding of karma, and the unfolding of karma is far too complex for my mind to understand. And unless you're the Buddha, and if you are, but unless you're the Buddha, it's far too complex for your mind listening to this to figure out as well. We may have ideas and grasping at things, but there's simply no way. So to the degree that we have clarity and insight today, we can plan, we can make statements, but that's all that is. The image that really comes to my mind when I say that is King Canute trying to stop the tide. Maybe momentarily in a very localized area, I can put up a sand barrier. But in any given moment, I can only do what I can do. And those moments in the future will be just another moment, at which point I will only do what I can do. And what I can do is the very constraints of the idea of the reified self. And we know from practice that that's an illusion. This is not a defeatist message. I want that to be very clear, right? There's a profound liberation in letting go of the idea of free will, recognizing that when I articulate a desire, I'm articulating something that is formed from attachment, that is irrelevant in the unfolding of karma, except maybe to the slightest degree of shifting a few strands here and there. So do it, but then sit back and observe. And bad things will happen, good things will happen. I don't like it when bad things happen. But something will happen. And then after that, continue each moment, frame the future in that same way. It all starts with sitting. It all starts with seated meditation, clarifying discernment, so that as much as possible we can observe the tides that are impacting us and we can respond with grace and elegance. So, I hope things work out the way that you want. I hope that for myself. But at the end of it, I don't know what I want. I know I don't want to lose my job. But that's attachment, right? Anyway, let me know what you think. This is a difficult topic, right? But it's at the core. It's at the core of the practice of turning the practice into something that is not theoretical, not theological, but is hands-on. How do we live? So I want to talk more about it, but let me know. Some feedback will help me shape those ideas. So. Alrighty then, keep your wits about you.